Hey YouTubers, Trent Blevins here, and today I have an iPhone 5S that is in need of a screen replacement. These are the tools that we'll be using. We'll be using a plastic spudger, an iSesamo pry tool, Phillips screwdriver, and a pentalobe screwdriver, as well as a suction cup to pop the screen off with. The screen's not being responsive right now for us, so we can't even get it to turn off. So, I like turning the devices off before I work on them, but obviously this one will have to just disconnect the battery and go from there. So the first thing you want to do is take your pentalobe screwdriver and unscrew these two screws at the bottom. I like to put mine off to the side, and then I usually have another suction cup around or something to put them in, or something to put them to put on top of them so I don't lose them, because these are the only two pentalobe screwdrivers you're going to have to deal with. So once we do that, we'll take the iSesamo or pry tool if you're choosing. You can use a spudger if you want. I just really like this tool better, as well as the suction cup. And you'll want to place it in between the frame and the screen itself here, and just pop. It's that simple. Be very careful here, because there is a ribbon on these 5S's for the Touch ID, for the fingerprint sensor, and it has a metal clip that you will have to dislodge before you go further here. If you tear this ribbon, then this Touch ID will no longer work on this device, so be very careful here. Once you pop that clip, that always pops off like that. So put that clip off to the side. You will want to put that back on at the end of the repair, so make sure that's in a safe place as well. Next thing you want to do is get your Phillips out, and these two screws here that are holding the battery in, the metal frame over top of the battery, we'll unscrew those so that we can disconnect the battery from the device itself. Take our plastic spudger, or whatever you want. Your tools may be a little different. Pop it up just like that. And now we're good to go on with the rest of the repair and taking the screen off. There are 4 screws that are holding this frame down, so we will want to unscrew these 4 screws here. There is one of these screws that are longer than the other, so it is pretty important that you, when you take them out, keep them in some sort of an arrangement where you know which one the longer of the 4 are, because that one that's longer will have to go back in its proper place. Okay, so now we can go and disconnect the ribbon cables from the broken screen. There are 3 of them that we will have to unsnap. These 2 and this 3rd one here. And now you can take the old screen, put it off to the side for a second. This is the internals of the phone. We don't need that anymore. No, well, not for now. Bring this back over here and show you what we have here. When you look at it, sometimes you can buy the parts with everything that you need. It costs a little bit more. I have a tendency to usually just buy the frame and switch everything over from the old phone, so that way I can go and get the parts cheaper. So as I'm looking at this, I'm showing you all the screws that you'll have to undo in order to do this repair if you did go that route. But you definitely want to be careful with the ribbon down here, the home button, and the fingerprint sensor as you prepare to replace this. We'll take the metal frame from the home button off first so that we can get to the fingerprint sensor, Touch ID. Get the screws out of our way. Okay, now what you'll want to do is either take a pair of tweezers or maybe an X-Acto knife. There are some adhesive that is underneath of this assembly, connecting this to the frame. Just be very, very careful here. You don't want to damage this ribbon. I can't stress this enough. And if you can get your blade or knife, whatever it is that you're using, just up and under that black piece, there's a little bit of adhesive. You can get that to pop off just like that, and then take your thumb and press the home button up until you feel it pop out. There's some adhesive on that as well. We can put that off to the side now. And then we can concentrate on getting the earpiece, the forward-facing camera, proximity sensor, and getting all that off, and the frame here as well, so that we can reuse these parts on our new digitizer screen. So we'll go ahead and unscrew these. And before we do that, let's go ahead and work on the frame itself too here. It usually doesn't come out like that, but there's some sticky stuff to that frame, and we'll make it work. Here's the new digitizer, new screen, and as you can tell, it is an exact same replica. We will have to bring that little clip, there's a clear clip there, we'll have to bring that over for the sensor to fit in. So take your tweezers, and it doesn't have any adhesive on it, and yeah, it's very easy to drop multiple times evidently. So when you're replacing this, just put it right back in that same spot on your new device. It's just there. Once you put the other ribbon cables and proximity and everything back in, that will just fit in place perfectly, so you don't have to worry about that adhesive there. We'll take this film off to help, that came with it to protect the screen, the back of the screen. And then we will be swapping parts here. So the frame, the proximity, the forward-facing camera, it kind of all just came off with the frame. Like I said, that's not usually the way it works, but we're going to roll with it here because it's actually just as good that it worked out like that, actually. So just be careful when you're doing this, because these ribbon cables, they're not super expensive, but you don't want to do any damage to them, obviously. You can pick proximity sensors up if you do damage them, pretty cheap, but nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to damage them, I don't think. So be careful putting this frame back down. It will fit in there. You may have to wedge it in. Tight fit, but you'll get it. And line it up where the screw holes are. Put the camera where it goes, the proximity sensor and everything. Just line it up. Trying to get a good view so you can see where it goes there. It's kind of hard to do. Just a little hole there. And you can hear it snap finally there. Take the earpiece here, and you will line this insert up. There's a hole here in the frame, and what you'll want to do is you'll want to align that. It will fit there perfectly. And then you can take the frame, fit it over top of it here, like this, and start screwing these screws back in. And once we get that in, there's one more screw up top here, but we'll want to put it in. It attaches the earpiece connection to the frame. It's the longer of the 3 screws there for the earpiece. And now we'll work our way down the frame and put these 2 screws on the right side. Okay, we've got that done. We're going to flip it over. Put the 2 screws in on the left side. And now we're ready to put the home button back on. When realigning and putting the home key back on, what you want to do is you want to be very, very careful here. As this is the fingerprint sensor for the 5S, and if you accidentally rip this cable, then obviously the Touch ID will not work anymore. So be very careful. What I like to do here is I go ahead and put the back of the home button frame on first, so that way I don't have to worry about the cable kind of getting in my way. And I'll just go ahead and do this part first and then screw the actual cable part down back to the frame. Okay, and now after that gets screwed in, what we want to do is we want to click the home button a few times, make sure you feel it click, and then we'll go ahead and screw that last screw down here in to the frame itself. Now we will take the rest of the phone and we will connect the ribbon cables back to the device. It's kind of hard to screw these up, so they kind of just go where they need to go. Just make sure you snap them firmly, and you should be able to hear it snap, or at least feel it snap, and that way you'll know it's in there. Like that. And there's that one. So now what we'll do is we will reconnect the battery and just power the device on to see if it will work. Power on, and most of all, make sure that the digitizer itself works and senses my finger here and senses the touch. And it does. So that's good. Now we'll go ahead and power the device off. We don't want to mess anything up with the battery, so we'll power it back off and then go ahead and reapply the frame that goes over these 3 connection cables at the top, and then work our way down to the battery. Yeah, these magnetic screws, they're fun. They're a blast. So just take your time. It can be frustrating, but we'll get her. Obviously, it doesn't matter which screw you try and put in here first. I have a tendency, I like going with the top one and just kind of getting it started and not going extremely tight there. That way it gives you a little bit of wiggle room if you need it to adjust the bottom there. And now we're on to the funnest part of the repair. Putting this fingerprint sensor back where it goes in this tiny, tiny groove that Apple thought was such a great idea. This can be very tedious, very frustrating if you've never done it, and just please be careful. This, you want to take your time with it. Now sometimes you can hear it actually clip in place, but you'll definitely feel it when it clips in place. So, if that makes sense. So just take your time, be careful. It can be frustrating, but if you line it up just right, you'll know it. There it is. You'll know it's there, and then comes the second funnest part of the repair, and that's putting the metal clip over top of the fingerprint ID, or I'm sorry, fingerprint sensor. So, and this I'm sure you'll have fun with if you've never done this repair before. Okay, and now that that's done, we'll snap the phone back together. We'll start at the top, work our way down toward the bottom. Just be careful. Don't want to mess anything up here now. And now we will power the device back on one more time. And that's it. We're pretty much done here. So if this video helped you, if you could, please give me a thumbs up, like it, subscribe. Got more videos where that came from. Thank you, and I appreciate it.